All right, hello and welcome. We are about to jump into what I believe is the most critical phase in this entire journey of building AI that actually works in the real world. Seriously, this is where the theory stops and reality begins. We're talking about Phase 6, using tools and external APIs. And look, this isn't just another technical step on a checklist. It's a fundamental shift in philosophy. It's the moment we decide to turn our AI from just a brain, a smart conversationalist, into an agent that can actually do things. It's how we finally give our agent hands.
To really drive this home, I want to start with a story, a real one. Picture this. You're a smallholder farmer in rural Uganda. You're miles, hundreds of kilometers from the closest agricultural expert. Your entire year, the food for your family, it all depends on your maize crop. But something's eating it, destroying it. All you have is a simple feature phone, not a smartphone, just a basic phone. So using just your voice, you call a number. You start describing what you see on the leaves, these weird window pane-like patterns, the stuff that looks like sawdust. And on the other end, an AI agent is listening. It takes your description, it runs it against its knowledge base, and in just a few seconds, it comes back with a diagnosis: fall armyworm. And the thing is, the diagnosis was absolutely perfect. It was this incredible moment showing what a language model could do for someone in one of the most remote places on Earth.
So you can just imagine the farmer's relief, right? Finally, he knows the name of his enemy. That's the first step. So naturally, he asks the single most important question you can ask in that situation. Okay, so what do I do about it? And this is the moment of truth. This is the pivot point. This is where AI has the chance to go from being a passive encyclopedia to being an active partner. But what the agent said next, well, it revealed this giant gap between knowing something and actually doing something. All it could say was, I recommend applying neem oil.
And that was it. Conversation over. Now, I want you to just think for a second about what was missing. It couldn't shoot the farmer a quick text with the phone number for the nearest government expert. It couldn't connect him to a local shop that sells certified pest-resistant seeds to make sure this doesn't happen again next season. It couldn't even do something as simple as send an SMS with the right instructions for mixing that neem oil. You see, the agent had the knowledge of a world-class scientist, but it had the real-world ability of a book. It was a brilliant mind just trapped inside a digital box. It had no hands. It could think, but it absolutely could not act.
And that story, that exact problem, is the perfect setup for our deep dive today. We are on Phase 6 of our journey to mastering agentic AI, and this is all about using tools and external APIs. And I want to be crystal clear here. This isn't about adding a cute little weather widget to your app. This is about building the core fundamental ability for your agent to take action. It's about building the bridge that lets the abstract intelligence of a model create real, tangible, measurable change in the physical world.
For those of you who are new here, my name is Marcel Masaga, and I've spent pretty much the last 20 years obsessed with this exact problem. As an AI engineer, a 5-time founder, a fractional CTO, I've seen this challenge from just about every angle you can imagine.
And this isn't just theory for me. I've been on the ground deploying AI diagnostic tools in rural East African health clinics where, a failed API call isn't just a bug, it's a direct risk to a person's health. I've bootstrapped startups that won global awards, and we won because we focused on reliable action, not on flashy, breakable features. I spend a lot of my time mentoring founders who are mesmerized by the latest, biggest models, and I have to guide them back to building things that can actually survive out in the real world. And I serve on global AI ethics bodies where we are constantly debating this one core question. How do we build AI that doesn't just impress us in a demo, but that actually makes a difference in people's lives? So this explainer, this is my attempt to share what I've learned. We're going to cut through all the hype and learn how to build wiser.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to circle back to that story, the agent that couldn't act, to make sure we're all grounded in the problem. Then, we're going to get technical and dissect the anatomy of action, what a tool really is in this world. After that, I'm going to give you a blueprint I use, the 4 essential agent tools every agent needs. That leads us right into the heart of my philosophy, something I call the Frugal tool stack, which is all about building for resilience. Then we'll make it super practical with an action plan for reality, a step-by-step guide you can actually use. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about the mindset that gives you what I call the pragmatist's edge. Let's get into it.
So let's start by really digging into this central idea, a thinker without hands. I really want you to see this as more than just a catchy phrase. See it as a diagnostic question for your own work. I'm serious, right now. Think about the system you are building. Can it only give information? Can it only answer questions based on the data it was trained on? If the answer is yes, then you haven't built an agent yet. What you've built is an incredibly smart chatbot. maybe a search engine with a nice voice. But true agency, the thing that makes this new wave of AI so different, is born from the ability to do things, to change the state of the world outside of its own digital mind.
This philosophy, it's the absolute bedrock of my company, SIHA AI. And it's not something we came up with in a comfortable conference room. It was forged out of necessity. When you're deploying systems in rural clinics in Kenya or with farmers in Tanzania, you learn a hard lesson very, very quickly. Information by itself is almost worthless. Action is the only currency that actually matters. I mean, what good is a perfect diagnosis of malaria if it's not immediately followed by a tool that can schedule an appointment or dispatch a health worker or order the right medicine? In these kinds of high-stakes environments, tools aren't just some nice-to-have feature. They are the entire point.
Okay, so that brings us right to the core of it all, the anatomy of action. What is the fundamental piece of the puzzle that allows an agent to actually act? What's the technical component that separates a real agent from a chatbot? Well, the answer is just one word: tools. But I know, that word gets thrown around constantly. People talk about prompting tools or reasoning tools, but in the formal architecture of agentic AI, the word tool has a very specific, very important meaning, and we need to be absolutely crystal clear on what that is.
So let's be precise here. In our world, a tool is any function the agent can call to interact with something outside of its own mind. It's an external capability. An agent's ability to reason or think or summarize text, that's all happening internally, inside its own head. But sending an SMS through an API like Twilio, boom, that's a tool. Querying a private, trusted medical database for the latest treatment protocols, yep, that's a tool. Connecting to a payment gateway to buy seeds for our farmer, that's a tool. A tool is the bridge. It connects the digital mind of the language model to the concrete, physical world we all live in.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at the left side. You've got your standard chatbot. It's a library of information. You ask it about malaria, it'll spit out a flawless list of symptoms from the World Health Organization. It's useful, sure, but it's totally passive. Now look at the agent on the right. Here's the crazy part. The brain in the middle, the core intelligence, it could be the exact same model, but the difference is everything happening around it. When it thinks there's a risk of malaria, its reasoning engine decides to use a tool. It makes an API call to a local lab to help get a test. It makes another API call to a clinic's calendar to book an appointment. It makes a third API call to send the patient a reminder via SMS. You see those verbs? Tests, books, sends. Each one of those is a tool in action. The difference is in the intelligence. It's the infrastructure for action.
But we have to talk about the flip side, because when you give an agent hands, you are also giving it the power to cause real harm. Let me tell you a quick, and frankly, a scary story from the tech scene in Lagos. A fintech startup built a really clever finance agent to help people pay their bills. They connected it to a payment API, but in their rush to get it out the door, they forgot to build proper guardrails around that tool. The agent, in its own reasoning process, got confused and it got stuck in a loop, repeatedly calling the pay bill function over and over again. In 12 seconds, it had completely drained the user's bank account. This is not a theoretical what-if. This is a real-world story of what happens when you connect a powerful, unpredictable reasoning engine to a real-world action without putting the brakes on. Your tools absolutely must be secure, reliable, and strictly controlled.
So that brings up the million-dollar question, right? How do we do this the right way? How do we build these powerful systems without creating these huge risks? Well, you need a mental model. You need a framework for thinking about it. You need a blueprint for action. And after years of building and deploying, and yes, sometimes failing with, these systems, my team has basically boiled it all down to this core belief. Every single effective agent needs tools that fall into 4 distinct categories.
Okay, this table right here, this is the heart of it all. Let's just walk through it. First up, information tools. Their only job is to get data from trusted sources to keep the agent grounded in reality and stop it from making things up. Our example from Malawi is a tool that connects to a local database of TB treatment protocols. Now, why local? Why Bluetooth? Simple. The internet in that clinic is down more than it's up. So once a week, a supervisor shows up and the clinic's device syncs the latest WHO protocols directly via Bluetooth. It's low-tech, but it's unbreakable. Second, communication tools. These let the agent talk to the outside world. In Kenya, we use a USSD gateway. USSD is that simple menu you use to check your phone credit. It works on every single mobile phone ever made, no internet required. By using it, our agent is accessible to everyone, not just people with iPhones. Third, you've got action tools. These do real things. So back to our farmer in Uganda. After the diagnosis, the agent can use a tool to help him order certified seeds from a local supplier. It closes the loop. It goes from problem to solution. And finally, and this is the most important one, safety tools. These are your guardrails. At SIHA AI, every agent has a mandatory human-in-command API. If the agent's confidence on a diagnosis is below 95%, or if it hears a high-risk word, the tool automatically freezes everything and alerts a human nurse. It's a non-negotiable circuit breaker. After working with these 4 tool types for years, in some of the most challenging places on Earth, we had this one huge realization. It's a principle that now drives every single technical decision we make, and it's this. The best tool is the one that works when the internet fails. I'm going to say that again. The best tool is the one that works when the internet fails. I have seen brilliant teams spend months building a beautiful, high-tech video consultation tool only for it to fail constantly because the connection just wasn't there. And at the same time, a simple, kind of dumb SMS tool that just sends a checklist to a health worker, it works. Every single time. In the real world, simplicity doesn't just beat sophistication, it laps it. And we realized we had to throw out the entire Silicon Valley playbook and rethink what a good tech stack even looks like.
And that big realization is exactly what led us to formalize an approach that we now call the Frugal tool stack. And the name is very intentional. When I say frugal, I don't mean cheap. I mean resourceful, efficient. It's about getting the absolute maximum impact from the minimum possible resources. It's a philosophy of building systems that are resilient from the ground up, that prioritize relentless reliability over some cool new feature that's going to break.
This slide here, it really shows the 2 competing worldviews. On one side, you've got your standard Silicon Valley stack. Think of it like a Ferrari. It's built assuming perfect conditions, always-on cloud APIs, fiber optic speeds, constant connectivity. It's incredibly powerful on a perfect racetrack, but the second it hits a pothole, like a drop connection, the whole thing shatters. On the other side, you've got the Frugal tool stack. That's our Toyota Land Cruiser. It's built for the worst-case scenario. It uses old-school, rock-solid tech like SMS and USSD. It's designed to be offline first. Its main feature isn't speed, it's resilience. We're not building for the racetrack. We're building for the rugged, unpredictable backroads of the real world.
So what's actually in this toolbox? Let's look under the hood. For communication, we rely on the Africa's Talking API for SMS and USSD because they have amazing deliverability. For voice, we use offline speech-to-text libraries like Vosk so the agent can listen and speak right on the device, no cloud needed. For information, we use local vector databases stored right on an SD card, updated with that Bluetooth sync. For action, instead of some complex calendar API, we just use a simple Android intent to tell the phone's built-in calendar to make an event. It works offline every time. We even use Bluetooth printers to give people a physical piece of paper with instructions. And for safety, my favorite is the escalation button. It's beautiful. It's not an API call, it's a function that literally just dials the pre-programmed phone number of the supervising nurse. The only way it can fail is if the entire phone network is down.
And I want to be clear, this is not just an idea on a slide. This is deployed and working right now. In Turkana County, one of the most remote places in northern Kenya, our health agents are running on this exact stack. A health worker will ride a motorbike to a village that has never had stable internet. They pull out a simple tablet, the agent uses offline speech-to-text to interview a patient, it checks symptoms against its on-device database, it books a follow-up in the device's local calendar. The only cloud connection is that escalation button, which is programmed to dial a satellite phone in an emergency. There are no external dependencies, no single point of failure. There is only action. Because in this line of work, reliability isn't a feature, it's a sacred promise.
All right, so we've covered the why, the philosophy. We've covered the what, the 4 tool types and the Frugal stack. Now we have to cover the how. It's time to get really practical. This next section is your action plan for reality. It's a step-by-step guide you can use to integrate tools responsibly and effectively into your own agency, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Here it is, your 4-step plan. Step 1, map actions. Before you write a single line of code, you have to map out the verbs. What must the agent physically do? Book, order, notify, verify, make a list. If you can't imagine a tool doing it, it's not an agent task. Step 2, choose Frugal APIs. Now that you know your verbs, find the tools. But don't just Google Calendar API. Prioritize tools that are offline first, low bandwidth, and affordable. Step 3, build robust wrappers. This is the most critical technical step, so listen up. You never ever call an external API directly from your agent. You wrap it in your own code. This wrapper is your safety net. It's where you put your error handling, your rate limiting to prevent that Lagos disaster, and your fallbacks. For example, if a WhatsApp message fails, your wrapper automatically falls back to sending an SMS. And step 4,
Test for reality. Please, do not test your agent on your perfect office Wi-Fi. That's useless. Take your test device, go into the settings, and force it onto a 2G network. Intentionally simulate API outages. If your agent breaks under those conditions, it's not ready for the real world.
And to make this even more concrete, this is the literal checklist we use at SIHA AI before we let any tool into our code. We ask, does it work offline or on 2G? If the answer is no, it's almost always a deal breaker. Is it affordable at scale? A tool that costs $1 per call might seem fine in a pilot, but it's a non-starter for a system that needs to serve millions. Does it have a fallback? We always ask, what happens when this breaks? If there isn't a graceful backup plan, the tool is too brittle. And is it secure and ethical? Does it use encryption? What's the privacy policy? We are absolutely ruthless with this process because we have learned the hard way that an agent is only as strong as its weakest, most unreliable tool.
This brings us to our final section, and in my opinion, the most important one. We've talked about the philosophy and the tactics. Now let's talk about mindset. This is what I call the pragmatist's edge. It's the worldview you have to adopt if you want to build AI that doesn't just work in a demo, but actually thrives in the messy, complicated, disconnected world where your users actually live.
You know, when you look at the global AI race, all the headlines are about chasing bigger and bigger models. More parameters, more data, more compute. Everyone is in a race to build a smarter brain. But from where I'm standing, that is the wrong race to be in. Here, we are in a completely different race. We are in a race to build better action. A slightly dumber agent that can reliably book a clinic appointment 100% of the time is infinitely more valuable than a super genius model that can write a perfect poem but can't send a text message. The long-term sustainable advantage in this field will not come from the size of your model, it will come from the resilience of your tools.
So, my challenge to you is this. As you go back to your work after this, I want you to shift your entire thinking. Don't just ask, what API should I connect to? Instead ask, what is my user's reality? The reality of their phone. Is it a feature phone or the latest smartphone? The reality of their network. Is it 5G or a spotty 2G connection? The reality of their data plan. Is it unlimited or something they pay for by the megabyte? Building for that reality, that's the real work of a great AI engineer in this new world.
And so the final question I'll leave you with is the one you have to ask of your own work. Be honest with yourself. Is my agent's brain connected to reliable hands? Can it act consistently, safely, and affordably in the real-world environment where my users are? If the answer is anything other than an immediate, confident yes, then your work isn't done yet. You haven't built an agent. You've just built a thinker without hands.
If this deep dive was valuable for you, I've got 3 quick requests. First, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's a simple click, but it really does tell the algorithm that this kind of practical, in-depth content is worth sharing with more people. Second, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell because our journey is not over. Next week, we're tackling Phase 7, where we will build a complete agent workflow from the ground up. And third, while you wait, go check out my most popular explainer, Stop Calling Yourself a Prompt Engineer. I guarantee it will change how you think about your career in AI.
All right, that's all from me today. I'm Marcel Masaga. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Until next time, think deeper, build wiser, and lead with courage.